Welcome back to the Top 6 show. Hit the like and the share button. Make sure you are subscribing. Lots to talk about. Loads of little agendas. Not bad agendas. I just mean on the agenda. That word's got a bad rap now. We're talking some big transfer news surrounding Arsenal. Is Gyökeres really up to the job? A big viral take today online about him not really being good enough is trending. We're going to talk about that. Yesterday, there was talk of Liverpool or Chelsea fighting it out for Dean Howson. Now, Arsenal are reported to be hot on the heels, and they could also be the club that seals him. Do they need him? Is that the right move? We're talking Cunha to Manchester United. The here we go is reportedly coming soon, according to Fabrizio Romano. And I can't lie. I got a bit of a semi when I heard that news. I'm not going to lie. It was just, it just went a bit, little movement. It was a little twinge because I want that player so much in a footballing sense. Pause. Okay. Just on a footballing, I've realized how that all sounds when it's come out my mouth at the same time. We're talking on that. We're going to be touching on Jamie Vardy, who's finally leaving Leicester. And where does he rank amongst Premier League greats in terms of strikers? That's greats. That's legends. We're going to be looking at Liverpool 1 point from glory and having a little bit of a debate about Chelsea and how do we rank, more so man like Dan on the show, ranking their season. But make sure like buttons have been hit and that you're subscribing to the Football Terrace. Yeah, I need to pause on that one. Having said that, people are saying pause all the time. I'm very comfortable with my sexuality. I believe that the amount of people that use the word pause now, I think people are hiding in the closet a little bit. I'm starting to get...
It gets overused a lot now. People
There's a few people in the closet that are like, oh, I better say it. I don't know. It's a little strange.
It's getting out of control when you can't even say, can you come here for a second?
Yeah.
People are diving in too quick with it. If you're a defender, you know, you got to wait your time. You got to wait for them to take the bad touch before you dive in. Don't dive into it.
But that's like it with most forms of banter. They get overused. Gents, I'm gonna throw this out to Dan first because we haven't had Dan on the terrace for a while. Good to have you back, brother. According to Fabrizio Romano, and I'm going to quote his words here so that I can't be taken out of context. Fabrizio Romano on Matheus Cunha to Man United. The here we go is possible soon. Does it feel to you as an outsider like a deal that United are going to get tied up, maybe even before the end of the season? And if so, how good a deal, buddy, do you think this is?
Yeah, good to be back, first of all. It's been a little while. But yeah, I think it's a great deal for United. I think Cunha has definitely lit the Premier League up at times. I don't think he's been as consistent as we'd all want to see, but he's been in a difficult Wolves side. I think United have got this deal done already. I don't think there's any sort of hiding that. I think this is wrapped up. I think it will just be pretty much smooth sailing, just ticking the boxes at the end of the season. He'll be a Man United player. I think he suits Amorim's system like unbelievably well. And I think we might even see a better level of player at Manchester United next season than we've seen at Wolves. I think he's a great signing for United. I've said that a couple of times now.
Do you know what? Like it really pisses me off that we've spent £120 million on Richarlison and Solanke, and then Man United can go and get Cunha out of the blue.
I'd rather have Solanke than Cunha, though.
No fucking chance.
Yes.
And
100%.
other than one shit penalty against bloody Frankfurt, he's got 7 goals all season.
Different players.
Been at Wolves, and he's got 14 and 4 GA. Plus, he can play as a winger and attack.
I would have been happier with Solanke signing Cunha. I would.
You know what, though, Henry? When you put Solanke in the ideal situation, he gets 20 goals, which is why you bought him.
He's got a lower goal scoring record time in the league than Richarlison has.
Yeah, that's because it's Tottenham. You just don't use him correctly.
Mate, no one can. Like, if you put Cunha at Tottenham, he gets a hell of a lot more goals than Solanke does.
If you put Cunha at Tottenham, he's getting sent off every 5th game because he's throwing his toys out the pram because he's a crap, which is what he does at Wolves.
He gets a load of goals at United this season as well, though. Like United have been crying out for a striker. He would have been.
Look at the chances they put on a plate for Højlund and Xerxes. Solanke didn't put that in the back of the net. Come on.
No, I think Solanke. I mean, I had this debate earlier with someone. Give me one thing. If you used to put them on paper, Cunha against Solanke, Cunha ticks a hell of a lot more boxes as a player than Solanke does. Hold up play, and that's it. Cunha can beat a man. He's a lot more creative. Has got a lot more flair to his game. Can play multiple positions, and he's a better goal scorer.
I'd love to, before I give my
Definitely
opinion on
not
that,
a
just
better
very
goal scorer, Henry. Come on.
He's
I
a
don't
better,
think-
one
No,
season
no.
at Bournemouth.
Yeah, I will ask this question, but Dan, is the reason why you'd prefer him, is that more so because you've kind of got the sort of midfield sorted at Chelsea? Is it because you just need that prolific, predatory number 9?
I think I'd take Solanke in most situations over Cunha at a number of different teams. If I wasn't just a Chelsea fan, I even think he's more useful for Manchester United now, Solanke, than Cunha will be for United. Even though I still think Cunha's going to be a great signing, I think you're crying out for a number 9, a typical number 9 that knows how to put the ball in the back of the net. And I think Solanke's exactly that profile. I think arguably you could have both in the same team, especially the way Amorim plays, sort of thing. But I'm not saying you're going to go and sign Solanke. But yeah, I think Solanke is a quality player that's been underutilized at Spurs this
And just
season.
quickly on Solanke.
I have a crazy take on this too.
Right, 0 goals in 10 games in 18-19, 3 in 32 in 19-20, 6 in 33 in 22-23, 1 season at Bournemouth where he got 19 and he's back to 7 at this season, right? Cunha has got 12 goals and 7 assists last season and he's already on 14 goals, 4 assists this season. Like we're talking, Cunha is so far superior, and I watch Solanke week in, week out. He's so superior to Solanke, it's unreal. And man, when you throw in Bruno Fernandes, right? When
Could you imagine Bruno creating for Solanke? Solanke's getting at least five, six off of Bruno alone in the season. Like, definitely.
The one question I will have just quickly on Man United is, what does this leave Kobe Mainoo? Because hasn't he played in that advanced role already?
Is he?
Well, what kind of question is that?
So this is I think it's a great.
They're playing in an attacking position.
But I think this is a great question. So for me, when it comes to where does it leave Mainoo, Mainoo has just turned 20 years of age, and one of my kind of biggest bugbears, I would say, in the past year or so is I felt he was maybe being played a little bit too much for an 18-year-old turning 19. This year, I think some of the injuries this season have been a kind of the remnants of being overworked, overrun, and played too early by Erik ten Hag, especially when the fitness levels of this team weren't where they needed to be. We have become a fitter team of late. But Mainoo, for me, I think he's very adaptable in this team. I like him playing in a 10 role that we have. There's 2 of them that are available. I also think he can play in deeper roles, depending on who we play and what teams we're in. I want Man United to get back to a point where we're not like, well, we have to play Mainoo every game. We have to play Bruno every game. I see a lot of people try and shit on Paul Scholes. And I'm going to use Scholes as an example because we're talking about Manchester United. But I see a lot of people, and while I'm doing it, I'm also changing the color of my lights at the same time to prove a fact that men can multitask. But when Man United were at our pomp, and of course, the reason why I'm bringing that up isn't because I'm living in the past. It's because I want us to get back to that level. People sometimes look back at Scholes' stats and go, didn't even start all your games. Doesn't mean he wasn't influential. It doesn't mean he wasn't important. It meant that we were just better as a football club at building squads. Fergie was the master at rotation, and we were able to keep players fresh. That's why he won so many trophies. It's why he done 3 doubles. It's why he did a treble. It's why he did a Premier League, Champions League double, because he was able to utilize his squad in that way. So for me, I'm not worried about Mainoo in any impact, any way, shape, or form. He will still play when fit and appear in 40 to 50 games a season. 60% of them, I think he'll end up starting in. I still don't think as well that he is the finished article, Mainoo. I still think I would like us still to give him time to have some games on the bench, to be nurtured, to develop, rather than at 18, 19 years of age, which, by the way, it's a rarity in central midfield to go in at that age and play every game, start every game moving forward. You can name a handful of players that have done it, and fair play to them. So for me, look, I don't think there's any worries there about Mainoo. The deal in itself, boys, look, Cunha is amazing. You put Cunha in our team since January. If we'd have gone and got him January 1st until now, we're not 14th. We're 8th or 9th in the league. There's less pressure on us as a club right now than what we're getting. You throw in the likes of a Delap, an actual striker, an actual goal scorer up front, and Man United are going to be a completely different animal next season with those types of signings.
I don't think so. And here's why. It's a great signing for Man United, Cunha, from the signing from Man United's point of view. But is it a great career move for Cunha? let's be honest, how many great players have Manchester United signed before coming to the club? We view them as a great player. They come to the club, they go into a team where there's no clear structure, there's no clear system for them to fit into. And also, it's been a graveyard for strikers. Look at, and even forwards that have come into Manchester United. Just look at Rasmus Højlund, look at Zerski struggling at times, look at Sancho, Anthony. It's just shown that players come to Manchester United and it can kill their career. It's a pressure environment, Terry. We know about the pressure at Manchester United. The media are on your case immediately when you don't do well the first couple games. And what is his role? His role at Wolves, he's given a free role. At Manchester United, Bruno's more given the free role, and he's not going to be a pure 9. He's not going to be a pure winger. You're going to have to find a way to get him to play slightly different, and you might not be utilizing him to his strengths. So overall, I think although he'd be a great signing for Manchester United, I think it's a bad career move for Cunha to go to Manchester United at this moment in time with all the uncertainty of the club.
What happens if they win the Europa League?
Regardless what they win.
And get that Champions League revenue, and then you throw in 3 or 4 more players.
Regardless, it is still an unstable place, and Cunha would be making a risk going there, and he could be back in a situation
wherever he goes, Egal, his next move is going to be a risk. If he goes to Chelsea, he might. If
he goes to Liverpool, I think there's a lot more security knowing that Mo Salah's there. You're not dependent on as one of the main goal scorers. You're not coming in as a big signing to putting on a lot of pressure on you. And defensively, midfield-wise, Liverpool defensively will not have him tracking back as much. Where at Man United, his midfield, he can't trust them to create or to defend. So he's going to have a lot of tracking back and defending. He's not going to be utilized to his strengths.
So let me just respond to this. I think what you're saying, Egal, holds water, and I understand where you're coming from. So I'm not shutting it down, attacking it, nothing like that. It holds water. But I see differences in how we're behaving. And one of the key examples for change is if we get this here we go a week after the season ends, I'm buzzing. When was genuinely, lads, when was the last time Man United signed a top player, a top priority target that quickly in the summer transfer window? We don't. As far as I remember, we don't do it. Everything's late, labored, weeks of stories. If we do something else, which we have, I don't remember the last player we did this with. I'm genuinely thinking it was Chicharito. Genuinely. I can't remember the last player, and I'm not talking a fringe player, an academy player. I'm talking about a bona fide first teamer. If we get that here we go, we sign him before the season ends, that tells me Man United are operating differently. Why I think that's significant is, yes, you're right. It could be a bad career mood. He could flop like 95% of our signings in the last 12 years. So I'm not dismissing it. But what gives me hope is the way in which we're operating feels different. And the reason why, for me, that's important is because I feel a fundamental issue with this club has been most pre-seasons. How many times have Man United not had their players for pre-season? How often are we getting into the beginning of the season and we're still chasing Sancho and we still haven't signed the striker, and on the last day we end up with Ronaldo or we end up with Cavani as an example? If we're able, and listen, not everyone's a fan of the lap. We'll see what happens when he arrives. If we get those two tied down really early in this summer window, or maybe the deal's agreed before the window opens, for me, that is a good sign. It doesn't prove it's a new dawn. It doesn't guarantee that Man United are going to be amazing moving forward, but it shows me a genuine change in the people operating the club. So from my perspective, that gives me far more hope of successful outcomes rather than seeing rinse and repeat. So I get where you're coming from, and I think that I have a fear of that. I'm not going to lie, but it's the speed and the timing of this deal that makes me... I'm actually more impressed with how we're doing the business than I am with Cunha, the player, because I can't stress enough how shit my club has operated in this space for 11 to 12 years. It's been horrendous. I've seen all of your clubs do business like that better than mine. So yeah, I'm very, very hopeful of this signing. And if we get Cunha's, if we get the laps, we strengthen that midfield, we add that extra quality, bringing that more physicality, we will be a completely different animal next season. I'm so confident of that. I really am.
If you're his agent, tell me why he should join Man United instead of waiting.
Money. United will pay him extra money because
money
waiting for who, Egal? Because who are his other options?
I think my argument holds water right now because Staff even said it himself. He's right. The reason being,
who's he waiting for again?
Liverpool are going to be selling a bunch of players. They're going to be looking at
There's no
attacking.
guarantee Liverpool go into
He's
him.
not.
No, but I do
He's
think-
not one of ours. We don't like his attitude.
I also
Okay,
don't think he's that highly regarded that the very top teams in the Premier League are going to go after him. I don't see City, Arsenal, or Liverpool.
I'll be honest,
going
Egal.
after him.
If he was that highly rated, they would have went after him last season when he put up a similar number.
Yeah.
So are you saying basically go to Man United now, and instead of just waiting it out and seeing who's going to be looking for forwards in that option?
Because he's out. He's arguably out of favour at Wolves as well because he's been suspended and they've won 4 or 5 games and a draw.
They've had enough of his attitude.
Guys,
he needs to move because the managers realised that actually his Wolves team looked better without him.
I think you're forgetting one thing for both parties. Egal, I think you're forgetting one thing as well. And again, I understand your perspective, but where I think you're wrong on this, we're Man United. We're Man United. We have a very exciting manager at the football club that he gets on with. We are with the very early stages of a genuine club rebuild. I know not everybody likes those sayings, but it's a fact, and we're doing it. The club is moving behind the scenes in a very different way. I don't think it's too hard still to convince people to join Man United. We are one of the most recognizable football clubs in the world. And yes, you are correct. He could turn up. The project might not work. It could be a bad move for him. But one thing that's always been attractive to players in the last 12 years, the same as it was attractive to players in the 70s and 80s when we got relegated and we were also run in the 80s. We were taking some of the best players off teams like Ipswich that were winning European Cups in that era. Man United just have a fame and a pool that is intergenerational and won't disappear. So I don't think it's hard to sell to some players. Not everyone will say yes. To sell to a Cunha and say, we want to make you front and center in a role that I think, Dan, you're right. The number 10 roles in the Amorim system are so tailor-made for Cunha. All of that works out for me. So look, people keep saying, why would anyone pick Man United? Money's a part of it. Yeah, we'll pay the going rate of players, but also there'll be a lot of people excited by what Man United are trying to build. Rivals won't think it's exciting, and they never will think it's exciting. But football players will want to join it. I'm absolutely sure of that.
I think that's the key in getting the business done early. Is it completely changes your image for other players to look at you and go, right, early doors, they're serious. They're going to get Cunha for this amount of money. They'll start to look at Manchester United and think, right, okay, they're actually going to back the manager. They're sticking with Amorim. They're going to look at potentially joining Manchester United as well.
It's true. But these kind of comments, I want to go to the comments here. This is Terry. No 16-year-old has seen United lift the Prem. No 24-year-old has seen United lift the... This is the problem with this train of thought, and I get it. It's all for the banter. But Man United hadn't lifted a Premier League in the best part of 30 years, which means Eric Cantona wasn't born. But he left our biggest rival Leeds.
That math isn't even adding up, sorry.
But they won't remember it. But even if the math does add up, right? Let's just say it does. Eric Cantona wasn't born when Man United... When he joined Man United, he wasn't born the last time he won the league title. He left the current champions of England Leeds to join Manchester United. This thing that those days are over, it isn't over. In Liverpool, when they were signing Fernando Torres, one of the best up-and-coming strikers in the world, they don't won a league title for 20-odd years. There's certain clubs that will always have a pool, unless they spend 10, 15, 20 years in the championship, go bust and end up in League Two and start again. They will always have a pool. Rangers, after they went out of business and went to the bottom of the pyramid in Scotland, their version of League Two and League One were still signing players that other Scottish Prem teams couldn't land because of who they are. So it's just, for me, have fun with that argument. It doesn't hold any water in reality.
You know what though, Terry? I need to ask this. You say where Man United has that pull. And I don't necessarily disagree the fact that players want to join Man United because they're Man United. But is it for the same reasons that it's Man United? Because I'm sure that the baseline of, I want to join United because the Man United carries, but I feel that it's went from, I want to join Man United because they want to win the top trophies and they've got the best players in class. It's no longer that. It's, I want to join Man United because the likes of Victor Lindelof can scam 7 years on big money wages.
Again,
and even if I don't work out there, I've got 5 years guaranteed pay.
It's a great point. It's a great point. it's a great point. Where I would challenge it is that it's not the same people running the club. So new standards have been set. New behaviors are already in. We cleared out so much dead wood last year that nobody expected us to. We will be the reason why no one thinks we can get rid of Anthony's and Rashford's is we struggled to get rid of bad players or out of favor players for 12 years. If we're not recognizing that that's already changed, I think we're deluding ourselves. I think we're genuinely deluding ourselves if we can't see that element of United has already started to change. The idea we won't get rid of our dead wood, the idea that we won't move players on that are not bad. Our owners literally, they hired Dan Ashworth, right or wrong, in bringing him in. They made a mistake and they realized they made a mistake. Quickly got rid of him. This is the ownership prior that were running the football operation that stayed with Woodward for like 7 years after failures. I just recognize change. Your points could happen. Maybe Cunha arrives, has a bad 2 seasons, and in 6 years' time, he's still here drawing his pension. I doubt that will happen, though. But viewers, look, give us your opinions on this. Cunha to Manchester United. Is it good? Is it bad? Do you think United have changed at all? Let us know now. Cunha will fit Ruben's system like a glove as a 10. I agree.
Tom, you're on mute.
If you get the Cunha that is 100% best and fully committed, you get one of the best 9-10s in the Premier League. But it's about keeping him 100% on board in that time. Because I was someone who early this season was pushing for him. I'm sitting there going, Liverpool could do with that guy in the false 9. But what he does is link up. But the more you watch him and the more you listen to the stories that you get, and look, you've got to take all this stuff with a pinch of salt. But the more you listen to this stuff, the attitude, the story about his attitude and the way he carries on.
Okay, but what did he specifically do with this bad attitude?
So he had an incident with the Ipswich staff, which got him a 2-game ban.
Right.
He had the kick out at the Bournemouth left back, which got him a 4-game ban.
What's wrong with that?
And he had, I mean, I don't really want my star striker getting 4-game ban because he can't handle.
Cantona did it.
Yeah, but Eric Cantona was Eric Cantona. Mateus Cunha would never be Eric Cantona.
If Núñez was scoring goals for you, none of you would care that he's a bit of a hothead and a live wire.
I mean,
I liken it back to Diego Costa.
It only depends.
Like, we lost him in big
moments. No, but it depends to an degree, though. Like, again, ignoring the obvious problems with him, which shouldn't be disregarded. Luis Suarez bit 2 separate people whilst he was at Liverpool. But by putting together 2 seasons where he got 30 Premier League goals and 32 Premier League goals, that was kind of disregarded for a team that hadn't seen anything like that since 2008. But Mateus Cunha's as good a player I think Mateus Cunha is. Mateus Cunha is never going to put together a season like Luis Suarez put together.
When people say he's got an attitude problem, when you say he's got an attitude problem, sounds more like a potential disciplinary issue. If, for instance, he was kicking out his own players on a pitch, if he was grabbing up his own members of staff, I would call that maybe an attitude and professionalism problem. But we all have players in our teams that are a little bit of a live wire, do a few naughty bits. Like, you've literally got a centre-back who 3 times this year has smashed his shoulder into someone's jaw off the ball. Why are you not calling out his clear, obvious attitude problem for his behaviour on the pitch?
Referees never sent him off.
Can't you say the same about Miles Lewis-Skelly? Does that mean Miles Lewis-Skelly's got an attitude
Miles
problem?
Lewis-Skelly doesn't have an attitude problem either. There's nothing that you've named that Cunha's done considered an attitude problem.
There's also a.
Why is it an attitude problem?
There's also a thing that happened recently though on Instagram, I think it was, where he's been putting up these stories about how he wants to go, and then whenever any Wolves fan replies to him, he sits there and has a go at them
again. So you gave a hero's welcome to Van Dijk. This was a man whose transfer got delayed by 6 months because you and him collectively were caught breaking the laws of the game, being tapped up. Why did you not, as a Liverpool fan, go, no, I don't want to play with a bad attitude like that? Come on now, this is bullshit.
No, hold on. I'm not disregarding
that. Bollocks?
I'm not disregarding that he could come in and he could be brilliant. But do you not have reservations when you're trying to weed out these bad worms at Manchester United that you bring in another guy?
Our bad apples are people leaking starting lineups, not running hard enough on the football pitch. I not one Man United fan, maybe Staffy, has ever thought to themselves, we've got to get rid of Casemiro because every now and then he puts in a solid tackle, right? No one has ever said that.
Never said that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I only had to caveat it because you never know with
reasons.
Staffy. Every now and then, Staffy likes to hate on his own players. He's a little bit self-deprecating like that.
No,
but
I'm not.
these things that people are saying are bad attitudes, it's just a player that's got a little bit of an edge. You've got it in Van Dijk at the moment. And you're right. If Van Dijk was shit, you guys would have a problem with it. If Cunha comes in and scores the same amount of goals and creates the same amount of goals next season for Man United, helps pushing us up the lead, helps us win games, no Man United fan, by and large, is going to care if he squares up to an opposition's coach and calls him a see you next Tuesday. We're all going to cheer it.
You'll care though when he's getting banned for 6-7 games.
Maybe.
I'll tell you what a bad attitude is.
Yeah, talking about one suspension, by the way, when the two teams clearly.
Ange Postecoglou is a bad attitude. That's someone that's arguing with reporters, arguing with fans.
But that's always back to Tottenham.
That's a bad attitude.
Forget about him. Let's talk about the incident that you mentioned with Ipswich. It was legit two teams going at it. But it wasn't like it was one player who did something. I remember seeing that fight and I was like, what the hell's going on? I think it was after the game. And wasn't there multiple people that got suspensions or
got a ban as well.
It was a big one.
There was two people that got a ban. Mainoo got a ban and Cunha got a ban
as well. Funny enough, two players that we want. I don't have an issue
Mainoo
with
got
that.
a bad attitude, Tom. Or...
Yeah, apparently everyone right now who has any emotions during the game, they're bad apples, bro. Like I don't get it.
You know what though, Dan? I can accept one moment, but when I've got another moment, and then I've got carry on social media, and then I've got his manager coming out and saying that he doesn't work hard enough. If I factored in 4 or 5 different,
the manager didn't say that, did he? The manager said he didn't like his body language.
Tom, what's more likely? What's more likely? Man United rejecting Cunha because of his attitude, or Cunha rejecting Man United because he deems it?
I'm really glad you brought us back to that thing because I want to speak about that.
Man United would, if it came down to it, one or the other, Man United would reject Cunha before Cunha rejected Man United.
We ain't rejecting him.
Wow.
He's done at Wolves, and I genuinely
wanted
think
him,
he's
and you said
checked
you'd take
out
him
at
into your
Wolves,
team, Tom.
and that's why he's probably like coming across as like potentially having this attitude problem.
No, I'm saying so. Cunha was wanted by Arsenal, so that's another big team that wants him. And you said you'd take him at Liverpool.
Yeah, the footballer I'd take as a pure footballer, I think he's brilliant. As an overall package, there's worries.
Yeah, and I want to bring you back to that because I'm not gonna lie, I can't believe Egal said what he said, and then Terry said your argument holds water. If there was ever an argument that doesn't hold water, it was that one. I actually got so annoyed. I was like, yo, can I join? Because I'm actually going to speak about Cunha later today on one of my streams. I haven't streamed in a whole week, so I actually can't wait to talk football again. Egal mentioned football.
Shameless plug, isn't it?
I didn't even say where you can find me. I mean, people know where you can find me. I just have
you got a big sign in the background which tells everyone where they can find you.
Hey, I never bought that. My friends bought it for me. I never wanted it.
What part of my argument did you not like?
So I'm getting to it. First of all, let me just revisit something before I get to your point because it's going to make sense. If you ask all rival fans, or actually even ask United fans, all season, what kind of players do United need to go for next season? They'll talk about more experienced players, better leaders on the pitch, and players that are more proven. Cunha ticks all that for me. He's a leader on the pitch. Yes, he might be a little bit over top. We say that the same thing about Casemiro, Bruno. It's the same thing. It's fine. He's just an emotional player. He's 26, so he's entering the peak of his career, and you can see it through his numbers. And he is experienced and proven in the Premier League. How I could sit here and people told me all season, you need to get proven players. But the minute we go for a proven player, Egal sits here and says, well, it's not the right career move for him. Anyone by that logic, Egal, who's 26, who's in the peak or entering the peak of his career, any of them that will be linked with United, you're saying is going to be a bad move. So by that logic, I could never sign a player of those categories. I need to go for younger players who are still not proven because according to you, I shouldn't be going for these players because they're ruining their career. So how can the two make sense? I need to go for these players. Yet you're saying, it's a bad move for him. I don't understand how it's a bad move for him. Is there ideal situations out there outside of United? Of course. Is there clubs that are more settled? Of course. Is there teams that are better equipped to win something right now? Of course. But if you want to talk at least in the football side, he fits this system like a glove. Like, I don't know how many players we're going to sign this summer. I'm going to hypothetically say like 5 or 6. Could be wrong, but I'm just going to say that. I'll promise you right now, we'll go to 5, 6 players that we'll sign this summer. None of them will fit this team like Cunha does, because he already plays in that system. He occupies the areas that we are the weakest in, and he adds everything that we don't have right now. So he plays down the left where we need someone. He's 26 and experienced in the Premier League. We need someone.
Yeah.
And he adds goals and assists. He has 12 goals and 4 assists playing for Wolves.
Staffy, let me just say that when I say it holds water, what I'm talking about, I think it will work. Where part of what he says holds water isn't the fact that we do need to sign experience. That part, anyone who says we don't is deluded. We do need experience. There is still the possibility that the cultural elements and the progression of the club and the project that started doesn't work, and therefore it ends up being a bad signing. However, that's not about Cunha specifically. That's about the club by and large. So yes, that could happen. So it's a fair point that we don't progress as a football club. Why is it fair? Because we didn't progress this year.
But there's an element. Here's the thing.
But
There's an element
I
of
don't
risk
think that's
with
going to
horse
happen.
trading.
I don't think that's going to happen.
I'm not saying it from a perspective of Manchester United. I'm looking at it from, if I was advising the player, I would say hold out and see if one of these big clubs come in for you. And in that case, if Manchester United then move on and go get somebody else, that's the risk you're willing to take.
Okay, so where do you think
how's
it's
that
ideal
a
for him
good
to go
career
now?
choice to go?
Well,
When
I-
if he's got an option,
I think
how's
the
that a
window hasn't
career
even
choice?
opened. The
Good.
window hasn't even opened yet. The season hasn't ended. For him to commit his future to Manchester United without actually seeing out if there's going to be the option of potentially going to a Liverpool or Arsenal or somebody else across Europe that is currently
that I disagree. That I disagree with. I think
that would be the choice you'd make. Wait and see what options are out there.
Yeah.
Okay,
But
then United
also-
go and sign someone, and his move to
Yeah,
United.
what if we go
doesn't
for
sign?
another option? Because we wanted
Yeah,
to
is that a good career choice?
I don't think Manchester United.
He's
is the best
literally
envi- I don't think Manchester
he's
United
then
is the best
gambling
environment for
with
it.
he's gambling with his life. He's gambling with his
every
livelihood, isn't
transfer.
he?
Every transfer has a little bit of
okay.
risk. That
But
is a factor.
gut feeling now, gut feeling, put your hand on your heart, no bullshit. Do you think he'll be a successful signing or a flop at Man United?
It depends who the other two signings in the attack you make are. Because if you go and sign
So,
another
but factor in what you no sitting on the fence. Factor in what you think. So, do you think United will sign 3 or 4 other really good players that work or not? Do you think it's going to work out successful for Cunha and Man United, or do you think it's going to fail?
at this moment in time, I have to wait and see. But based on what I've seen, Manchester United has been a grave.
Don't sit on the fence, Egal. Don't sit on the fence.
I'm answering the question. If you guys let me get it to my...
Don't
Shake it
sit
like
on the
Donny
fence,
does.
Egal.
He's going to be
Shake it like a Donny does.
You guys are being silly. I'm literally about to answer your question if you let me finish the second sentence. Manchester United, as I said, has been a graveyard for talent. So until I see you guys actually play to player strengths, which I don't think you guys do, I'm going to say it's going to probably go down the same route as Rasmus Højlund and Sancho.
I mean, they play to Bruno Fernandes' strengths.
Sorry?
Bruno's done well. Guys, look, we'll let the viewers, we're going to let the viewers
Look,
answer that. We've got other subjects to get onto on the show, gents. But this here from Joshua says, so Tom, based off what you've just said, do you think Yoro joins us for money, or would he want to join us football heritage? You think players didn't watch last Thursday and were like, I don't want to join that?
I'll be honest, I don't think top players watch Manchester United scrape past Lyon in the Europa League quarterfinals and go, that's where I want to be spending my football career.
We won, didn't we?
No, do you know what?
You won, but
this is where I disagree with you as well. Right? The phrasing of it is interesting, right? The phrasing of it is scrape past. It was on the night. The highlights prove it, and history will show it to be true. It's going to be one of the most rewatched European games in the history of European football. That is a selling point to people. As bad as we've been this season by and large, when Man United do that, and by the way, it's not the first fucking time we've come from behind like that in a game. When Man United do it, it hits different to most other teams. There's only a handful of other teams that can attract that amount of attention for a comeback. So I do think those things play a part in people's minds because it gives you an opportunity to be part of something. And now, I don't want us having to come from behind in every European game with Cunha, but I just think you're being bitter here, Tom. I think you're being dead bitter.
You can say on the Yoro point as well. I think Yoro would have joined any of the clubs that were interested in him in the summer. But Manchester United presented the best deal for Lille, and that's fair enough to Manchester United for being ambitious.
Fair, yeah. Lille weren't going to pass on that money because it was either that or he goes to Madrid.
No, I get that. But by the way, here, King Truth, it wasn't Champions League. I agree with you, but let's not pretend as though that Liverpool, the most successful European club in English football history and third in Europe in general, didn't didn't go absolutely mental and crazy for their comeback against Borussia Dortmund in the Europa League 10 years ago. This is the problem. And that's not a dig at Liverpool, Tom. And they're right to do that. At the end of the day, you're saying it's only the Champions League. Why has it had more views in terms of highlights? And let's not pretend nobody was watching it at the time, because I saw you all in the comments. I saw you all in the timeline. You were all in the group chats watching it. So none of this bullshit of, oh, the highlights got good views because nobody was watching it. Go check out the viewing figures, higher than a lot of the Champions League games this season. Stop being so bitter. But viewers, look, hit the like button for us. Well, whether you hate watching or not is irrelevant. You were fucking watching it, my old mucker. That's the point.
Terry, it went extra time, which I think probably did you favourably for numbers, because like all the other games finished, didn't they? So
yes, but I'm talking about the amount of people that watch the replays afterwards. It got more views in 12 hours than Arsenal's 3-0 win over Real Madrid did. It's not a dig at it's not. But all my point is that when you do things at Man United that are good, it's bigger than everybody else. It's as simple as that. It's not a dig. It's just the truth. We've got to move on from this, though, because I want to talk about another set of transfers. A big link today, Egal. Arsenal looking to potentially seal a deal and get ahead of Chelsea and Liverpool for Dean Huijsen, who was heavily linked to Real Madrid, but in recent weeks, it does seem that it's plausible he stays in the Premier League. Is that someone you want your club, Arsenal, to focus on and go and get?
Obviously, I want Arsenal to first go and get a forward and get that sorted before we get anything else done. But Dean Huijsen would be good squad depth. I don't think he starts for Arsenal, and I don't know if he would come into Arsenal and overtake Gabriel or Saliba, which I don't think he's better than. So he would be coming in to be squad depth with Kivior's recent arrival and improved in form. If we do sell Kivior and we get a good fee for him, he'd be really good squad depth and he'd definitely benefit us and probably get a lot of game time in the cups and give us more rotation and options in that back line, which we haven't had recently. Now, Kivior's performances recently maybe interest the club to keep in Kivior, and that might change the situation with Dean Huijsen. But if I'm similar to what I said with Cunha, to be 100% honest, I don't think Arsenal might not be the best option for Dean if I'm looking at it from his perspective. From Arsenal perspective, I also don't think going and investing 50 million on a backup center back right now should be our first priority. We should go and get a forward first, go and get a left winger first, and then if we have money left over and he's still about, then go and get him. But I'm not spending 50 million on a center back.
You're the worst option for him.
Yeah, if we want to talk about bad career moves, that would be one.
With Gabriel and Saliba there, development for his career, it's a bad move.
Yeah, but he could be your centre
for
back
Arsenal.
But Henry, he's not going to stay there for 10 years, though. He's gagging. He is gagging.
Gabriel and Saliba are going to be there in 3 years.
No, but Henry, it's not about whether Gabriel or Saliba are going to be there. That man is gagging for a move to Real Madrid within the next 5 years. He's desperate for it. So if you're signing Huijsen now, you're signing him on the basis that we'll get 2 years development, maybe 2 years of him at the top level, and then we're selling him to Real Madrid. It's not
That's why Chelsea's his perfect transfer.
Or Arsenal could end up getting rid of maybe Gabriel. I don't see us getting rid of Saliba. But
Saliba's gone to Madrid as soon as that deal comes through. You know it.
That would be the only thing.
You know it.
No, I honestly don't think
he's never saying no to Madrid.
I don't think Saliba's going anywhere at this moment in time for 2 years. So I agree.
When's his contract run out?
2 years, but then an option for a third. But I think both have to agree on the third option. But at this moment,
so we'll do 2 more years, and then it'll be a case if we get to that summer, it'll be he only wants Madrid, so Arsenal might have to sell him if they want any money.
You know better than anybody with Trent.
Right, I do. That's what I'm saying.
So when it comes down to it, I don't disagree with you guys. Real Madrid come knocking, most people are going to end up going. But at this moment in time, Arsenal in a strong position. Real Madrid themselves said they can't get him this summer. They know they probably are going to struggle to get him away from us next summer. If they're going to get him, they're going to have to get him in 2027 on a free.
Okay, Arsenal would have to win 16 more Champions League to be a better option than Real Madrid. 16 more, and it's taking you this long to get to the semi-final again.
Okay, let me.
You haven't got a chance.
Let me stop you right there. Are Chelsea a better option than Man United right now?
Yeah. What for Huijsen? Yeah.
Okay, so you have less Champions League than them. So your point is irrelevant.
No, I wasn't making the point that you were. You were saying that he'll stay at Arsenal because you're in a good position instead of going to Real Madrid.
Okay, is Everton a better option than Chelsea? Because Everton have more league titles than you. This is the irrelevant point that you made. That's what I'm saying.
Not Premier League titles, they don't.
Yeah,
Not
they
in
do.
Dean
They have more.
Howson's life, they
They've
don't.
got more overall league
Yeah, they
titles,
do.
like
They
They
do.
have more
100%.
titles than league titles than you. So my point is, people don't decide their future based on what the teams won in their past. They decide what they're based on now. So all this stuff about trophies, it's cute, but it's not the main reason why people like going to clubs.
So you honestly think, Egal, that if Real Madrid come in a year's time, the Real Madrid, he stays and signs a new contract with Arsenal?
I think people underestimate the situation that we currently are in. Arsenal are a forward line.
I've just won the Premier League, and my homegrown talent wants to do one.
1 second. This is about Dean Hoyland, and you guys turned it into a Saliba topic. It's hilarious.
Who's Dean Hoyland?
Rasmus's long lost cousin.
Rasmus's brother.
Terry had flashback signals to another Hoyland joining United then.
There's more chance, by the way, of Howson starting at Chelsea than there is at United as well.
I think Chelsea's the perfect move.
Yeah. Chelsea's the best move. I agree. And
I disagree. I think we're the best move.
When it comes to Liverpool, Real Madrid,
we've got the uncertainty of
not this summer. You're not. Not this summer. You're not.
The thing is that
next summer maybe, but I don't think Howson can afford.
He's also young. He's also young.
He's only 20.
We are right there, ready with. We're more ready to challenge for top honours than you are. That's a stone cold fact.
Yeah,
and the difference that we've got is we have this uncertainty.
But is Dean Howson ready to go and challenge for top honours when he's in a mid-table Bournemouth side?
I think you underestimate you underestimate how many minutes Dean Howson would actually play for Liverpool if he was to join.
It's not guaranteed that he's going to be starting every single game. Whereas I think if he goes to Chelsea, I think he's got a really, really good chance.
I think it's a case of, would you take 1,500 to 2,000 minutes in Champions League, challenging for title of Premier League, etc., or would you take 3,000 minutes in a top four battle? I think Huijsen at this point sits there and goes, you know what? If I go to Liverpool for a year and I do rotation minutes, I'll still play a lot because Konate loves an injury. Van Dijk needs to start getting rested if he wants to prolong his career. I'll still play a lot. And then if Konate goes PSG, once his contract's up, I'm ready to start. Or it's a case of I go to Chelsea, I'm going to start straight away, but that team is still 2-3 years away from being in the position where Liverpool's is right now.
Yes, but then Madrid come calling after that period of time, and he'll have his move. He'd get more minutes going to Real Madrid this summer than he would going to Liverpool.
Disagree.
Tom, do you think he
would? He 100% would, because we all know Madrid have got issues with their defence at the moment.
Unless Madrid got Alonso.
Do you think Virgil just signed that extension and then he'll be like,
he played ahead of Konate? You missed that.
Not a chance.
Dan, Konate has gone through. This is the first season in Konate's career that he's played 20 league games. I can't sit there and go next season. You know what? Even Konate's going to do another 35 for me. No, Huijsen will play at least 15 in the league next season. That's not including Champions League. And I just think if he's got that guaranteed step up to where, because look, I'm going to be honest, I think they fucked it with Konate as well. I think we fucked
staying at Bournemouth than he would be going to Liverpool, Tom.
Not a chance. Not a chance. Not a chance.
Yeah, he would.
Not a chance.
For his development,
no chance.
He would be better staying at Bournemouth, playing every single game, coming up against the best strikers in the Premier League, being challenged week in, week out.
You're missing a very big point, though, Dan. Let me add something
than he would at Liverpool.
Let me add to this argument. I think you're missing a very big point. Yes, of course, he'll get more minutes at Bournemouth because no one gets ahead of him. First of all, I do agree with him. I think if I had to pick one of the two for him, if I'm his agent and I could get him the best move possible away from money, obviously, I'd put him in Liverpool over Madrid. Number one, Madrid already have a young center back that they're developing right now next to Rudiger in Asensio. So they already have a young project that they're working on. So it's kind of not a good idea to work on two young projects at the same time. Secondly, Liverpool, as you mentioned and Tom mentioned, Konate, as good as a defender he is highly unreliable because of injuries. So he is someone who's in and out of the team. Yes, I think he's a very good defender, but it would be foolish if you think he's going to give you 30 plus games in the league when you've seen his track history. Now, here's the last part. You talked about his development playing in Bournemouth. I think you missed a very big point. Think about his development playing next to Van Dijk, training with Van Dijk, being around. Imagine being nurtured by Van Dijk over the next 2 years as his successor, because let's be honest, I think this is probably, I think even Tom would agree with that. It's probably his last contract. What'd you say then?
He'll end the season with 5 Prem
He
starts. if
won't
he goes
though.
Liverpool.
He
No,
won't though.
5 is crazy.
Okay, 10
let
at
me
an
just check
absolute
something.
push then. Because there's no way Van Dijk or Konate, unless injury happens, are
Yeah, that will
sacrificing
happen
that
with
many
Konate.
games.
Konate will
Mind
get
you, this
injured.
Champions
He
League,
may
this
well do,
cups-
by the way. And I hear them. If we're going to talk about hypothetical injuries, then fine. But I think when you're looking at it as a player going somewhere, you're going to go, well, hang on, they've got those 2 players, and if they don't get injured, my game's
Yeah,
going to
I
I'd
think
just say
Chelsea though
this,
fits
Dan.
on another. I think Chelsea fits on another level. Sorry, Tom. I think Chelsea fits on another level. That the one thing about anyone buying him, if he gets enough game time, is whatever you buy him for now, you're probably selling him for a profit in 2 years' time to Real Madrid. That's the benefit. That seems to really suit Chelsea's model. It seems to really suit their model of, well, we can bring him in, we can develop him, we can get the benefits of him now. And should Real Madrid still want him, and should they be willing to pay a top rate, we make our profit, which is, okay, I'm only going by what's publicized here, Dan, is a big part of your business model, where I feel that Arsenal, and especially Liverpool, that's not really what they want to do. I think if they want to buy someone, I think they want a player that genuinely will commit at least the next 4 or 5 years of their career to being at the club. So I think this is where everyone's got to be careful with signing him, is when he signs, what is that desire like to join Real Madrid, and how quickly would his head be turned? Like Saliba's 24. If he wants to go at the end of next season or the end of the season after, how many years would he have been an Arsenal player, including the 2 years on loan? What, 5, 6, 7 years? That's a considerable amount of time. To sign someone who wants to move in the next 2, yes, you'll make some money, but at the same time, it leaves a hole in your team. And I would almost get it if Arsenal were looking at him as the Saliba replacement. But then you're sort of saying that Saliba might not go himself. So then you don't need a Saliba replacement, do you? Not right now. Like, maybe it's too early to... I mean, Harold's Gabriel, what, 28?
27, 28,
26.
yeah.
26. So even that, I'm not saying you don't... I mean, Kiwior's a good backup. Dean Helson's too good to be a backup at this point. I think he's too developed already. He's already a first-team player. I don't think he can step backwards in that way. I really do think Chelsea would be the best option for him. The most amount of game time and development, and a team that would probably be willing to sell him in 2 years' time for a profit, where I don't think Arsenal and Liverpool would at that particular point. But yeah,
Terry, you're not...
it's an interesting one.
Also, just one more thing. We're factoring in Chelsea getting Champions League football, of course. If Chelsea get Champions League football, you're
No,
starting...
I'm not. I think with or without Champions League football, it's a step up in his career.
Are you guys
I
not
agree.
surprised
I
that
agree.
Man City aren't going in? Looking at the fact that Stones will be
City already
leaving.
approved their load in January, bro. They bought
They are going to have a massive clear out.
Man City bought 2 defenders in January.
Yeah, they've already bought 2 kids, haven't they?
Yeah, but you know what Guardiola's like? One of them's going to play fullback.
Now, you
Yeah,
know what
that's
Man
probably
City's
gonna
going to do? Man City trust their scouts a lot better than a lot of our clubs. They're going to go and invest on younger, cheaper.
I think Guardiola's going to move centrally as well. I think they're going to look at like a Kirkez or a left back or someone on those lines. Maybe not Kirk.
Not
maybe
the only
not-
left back.
Yeah, maybe not Kirkez, but someone like that.
Always
Because
have
Tyreek Mitchell's on a free.
Guardiola's going to
Stop
move
trying to
in.
sell me
he's gonna
Pedro
move in.
Porro. Henry, please. Stop trying to sell me Pedro Porro.
I feel
I'm
like it's
never going to say
every time
yes to him.
these 2 are in a show, he tries to give him Pedro Porro, bro. No one wants Pedro.
Just tries to get. Yeah,
think
no
Man City's
one
one
wants
of the
it.
best well-run clubs, and if they wanted him, they would have already looked at him by now.
Who?
Man City.
But want who?
If they wanted Dean, they would have.
Yeah, I mean, but they might have done. These moves come out. I mean, this time last year, Man United weren't linked to Lenny Yoro, and then bang, we went and took him off Real Madrid, showed our power, showed our levels. Do you know what I mean? And took him, and it's what happens sometimes. This year said, I don't know where this come from, but it says Spurs were better than Arsenal for years, but they were never more attractive than Arsenal. Stop with recency bias. We've seen how teams turn things around in a year. And all your opinions will change. I agree a lot. Well, I know this is more based on Man United. I just feel the transfer window is dependent. But if we do get the laps, if we get Cunha's, if we add that kind of quality, there'll be a few youngsters that come through. There's this, I think he's Argentinian, some young kid who's 30-odd million pound release clause meant to be activating. I know nothing about him, but he could be really good. There'll be a few signings like that, there's no doubt. But if we genuinely have a good window, we will be such... And for me, technical flaws got to go up, yes, but it's a physical element. We have been a different team in Europe compared to the Prem, and I loved how honest the manager was.
I'd love for us to sign him just to see Terry try and tip his name.
Yeah, fuck that, mate. That'll give me a stroke. Like I've looked at it already.
He-
though.
Is it
he called
Mascherano or something like that? Is
He'd
that who it is?
he'd be Frank to Terry. He'd just be Frank. Oh man,
Yeah.
Frank.
Bro, it's
Yeah.
like there's like Mustantuno or something
Yeah,
like that.
is that you're right. He doesn't look 17, by the way. He looks 27.
I thought he was a grown ass man. I'm not gonna
Yeah,
lie.
yeah.
Well, that's also when it comes to youngsters. There's youngsters and there's youngsters. One, how many games have they played? Two, what are their bodies like? And again, no one has to say pause. We're not
It's not a
insecure.
positive.
We are not insecure men. It's physically, what do they look like? And yeah, he does. When I saw 17, he does look like a geezer. There's no doubt about
Do you
that.
think Dean Howson looks like a geezer yet? Or do you think he still looks like
No.
he's got years to go?
He looks 18, bro. He looks young.
In the
Yeah,
face, he looks young. In the face,
Yeah.
he looks young. But physically, he's a big bloke. He's got a
He's
little bit more.
6'5", apparently.
He's
He's
skinny,
got a
though.
little. He's got a little bit more
Very
to fill
scrawny,
out, but
But
yeah, a little scrawny. But Yoro's like that, isn't he? I think Yoro's going to
He's
fill out
similar
as he
to
gets a
Yoro,
bit
yeah,
older. Yeah. Gonna fill out a
I
little
think
bit.
clubs want to buy those types of defenders, though, those Huijsens and those Joros, because the moment they get that bit of beef on them, they become unstoppable because they can read the game dead early. They're very good on the ball. You can get that physicality about you. The moment you've got that, you're
Yeah.
the complete package, and you're all of a sudden a 100 million quid defender.
you know what it's similar
Yeah.
to, Tom? To take away the football for a second. You know how like in basketball they draft a player and then in 3 years
Giannis.
they jack up.
Yeah.
Like Anthony Edwards and Jason Tatum. You look at them, they were kids.
If Wembanyama all of a sudden gets a bit of muscle on him, oh my god,
That's a great one. I mean, that one's a little bit different because the guy's
Yeah,
like
he just-
7'4", like he doesn't even need.
7'4". A 7'4" frame is gonna take years.
yeah, he's already a ridiculous height. But if he all of a sudden had a bit on him and he could bully people in the post, it's a bra.
You
Look
see
at-
Yeah, I
him
hear that.
playing football,
The-
by the way.
The other on the other signings, I don't want to run out of time on this show because we've got the big Vardy conversation to have as well. But there was a post today from someone called Ben Mattison who says that he's a freelance analyst and scout, South American expert. He's worked for Team Talk and BT Between the Lines. I'm not saying I don't know who he is, and I don't mean it horribly, Ben. I just don't know who you are. He quote tweeted all the actions of Victor Gyökeres last night when they played, or the other night when they played Rio. Is it Rio Avenue or whatever they're called, right?
Real
Uave, there we go. That's my pronunciation. Avenue. And this is what he wrote. Right, this is what he wrote. He said, again, another example of people not knowing what they're looking at. Heavy first touch, doesn't anticipate contact, and shields the ball well. I don't know what that kind of sounds like a positive than a negative. He says doesn't use his arms to hold off defenders, slow to turn, touches on transition take him away from goal. These are all red flags. I'm seeing a lot of people start to say this now about Victor Gyökeres. I watched the footage and I do agree with him. There was a couple of heavy first touches. There's a couple of touches where he's running at goal that weren't great. There was a time where he could have squared the ball into the center, someone to tap in, just doesn't do it. The problem is for me, if you go and just go back and watch a bog standard game that R9 played in, now, just for all the triggered people, I know R9 is better. But if you go into all the actions from a standard R9 game from the 90s, you would see some heavy first touches. You would see some times where maybe he could have held off a defender better. You'll see some times, even with his impeccable ability in dribbling, where the ball don't quite go where he wants it to go. Are we getting to a point, gents, where we are almost over-analyzing to a kind of pedantic level the way players play and perform, or are there major red flags with Gyökeres and other players? I'm throwing it out there for the conversation and debate.
No, we are getting to a
it's gotten
point of
horrendous.
ludicrousness.
What am I listening to there? He doesn't use his arms to shield the ball. Does he stop the defender getting the ball? Yes. Does he score lots of goals? Yes. You know what? I want him up front. Football is a simple game. You put the ball in one net, you stop it going in the other net. These people nowadays, these tacticos, they use fancy words. They went to uni and got an English degree and use fancy words which don't mean anything. Football has not changed much. The basics of the sport has not changed much from 30, 40 years ago. Victor Gyökeres scores a hell of a lot of goals. Victor Gyökeres, when you put him in front of goal, can pick out the bottom corners of the net. He can pick out the top corners of the net. He can hold off a man and he can play a pass. He's the kind of striker who 15 years ago, when you listen to Chelsea and United and Arsenal look for the striker, they're going, oh, you've got to be all over him. He's the next big thing. But now we're going, oh, look at his body mechanics. He runs weird. He does this weird. Does he score lots of goals? Yes. Would anyone, genuine question again, because he'd be signing for your club, would you genuinely care if Victor Gyökeres ran weird and shielded people using his legs rather than his arms if he scored 35 league goals a season?
No, I wouldn't give a shit.
So
But
what are
you
we
know-
doing?
I think at this point, what they're doing is they're trying to have a conversation about his weaknesses and his flaws. And if they're saying we're not going to go get Victor Gyökeres, who's their alternative? Because I'm looking around, I don't see an alternative to Victor Gyökeres that's, one, scored as many goals as he's done, two, has proven it in the Champions League with playing well against some of the teams like Man City in the Champions League, doing what he's done in his league, winning the league, also doing it in the Championship. He's still, 25, 26 years old. He's of a good age. And let's be honest, if Mikel Moreno can do what he's doing right now at Arsenal, and Kai Havertz getting a tune out of him last season in the title challenge, Victor Gyökeres is going to be an improvement on both of those guys with his finishing ability. He's a natural striker. He's 6 foot plus and has the pace to also run on the counter. Like, why? Why do people always have to find some negative out of absolutely nothing?
It's because he's signing for Arsenal. That's
You know what?
literally it.
There's Arsenal fans out here who would rather go and get Sesko and another project player, and it just doesn't make sense to me. We need to win now. Stop going for project players in every key position, and say to yourself, finally, just go and get that player who scored 40 plus goals in 2 seasons.
Egal, if your club end up buying Sesko this summer, give me the league title next season. If your club buys Sesko next season, you're not doing anything.
If he scores 40 goals, we're talking about if he can hold someone off.
I don't want Sesko. So I generally do agree with you. I don't want Sesko, but I'm not saying the striker alone is the main thing. We still also need to go get a left winger also.
If Arsenal bring in Gyökeres and he goes and scores 25, 30 league goals, and people are criticising him because he runs weird and he can't hold the ball. I mean,
Henry, he holds the ball up in the wrong
No,
channel.
but we did this with Harry. We did this with Haaland, and maybe I'm part of the problem. We look at players and we want them to be the complete piece to the puzzle.
Chris Wood's just scored 19 league goals this season for Forest. I don't think any Forest fan cares because he can't sprint with the ball properly. He's just scored 19 league goals.
No, but look at this. There's people who say, I say this too, Isak is a better all-around striker than Haaland. Haaland's still the better player, though.
Exactly, but who scored 50 goals in his first season and won the treble?
Some people prefer Isak.
This is on the thread after this guy wrote it. This is someone who shared a TikTok they put out about him. Let's take a little listen to this.
A big club gets Gyökeres this summer is getting scammed. I'm telling you now. Like, let me be clear. Gyökeres is a good striker. He's very, very strong when there's space around him. And like, if you give him space, he's lethal. He's powerful. He's strong in the air. He's a good finisher as well.
Sounds good so far.
Like, if you leave space in behind your back line with Gyökeres, you're going to be in big trouble. However, the majority of big clubs, week in, week out, they play against low blocks. Like, if you think about every league game for Man City, pretty much, especially Man City in their peak, what do teams do? And those are often the games that can be the difference between coming second and winning a title, you know, going away to, let's say, Everton, Goodison Park, and winning 1-0 rather than drawing 0-0. That's like a big 2 points gained. And what Gyökeres struggles with is when he doesn't have space to manipulate the ball into his stride and get his shots off, he can't do it. Like, I'd say he's quite clunky in terms of his ball manipulation. His ability to create separation is a big issue. And like, you could be as powerful as you want in football, but if you can't create separation, then it's not useful. You can't maximize it.
So you gotta say a little bit more. I mean, just for full disclosure, he's a Spurs fan. This guy, he's a Spurs fan. Just want to put that out there. He's a Spurs fan. But look, I mean, separation. One of the best goals I see him score this season. I mean, one of the best goals I see him score this season was where he created separation in the Champions League, and he just created half a yard, and he wellied it into the top corner from such an acute. I've seen him score so many goals that I would consider to be self-made. I don't know.
He manipulates the space, Terry. Like, I don't know how many times that guy scratched his ear.
I'll just say this: it's on
That's
the
the English
manager.
classes we were talking about.
It's on the manager. It's on the manager to get the player in the right areas of the pitch and get the team to playing to their strengths. I think if we were to have Victor Gyökeres this season, he would be bagging 30 plus goals for Arsenal easily, because I've seen the likes of Trossard, I've seen the likes of Mikel Moreno, and I've seen the likes of Kai Havertz in situations where Gyökeres buries those chances. So I don't know what he's talking about.
This is, and this is the thing as well, right? I can't play the footage, I'll get a copyright strike. But this is the random bit I clicked on, watching his actions from last. I mean, they're sitting back against Sporting Lisbon. That's pretty low to me, right? Most teams don't sit inside their own box. Like most Premier League teams will sit in. Do you get where I'm coming from? Like if we just fast forward through this and let's see it, we can't play it. I mean, look, quite a lot of players in the box.
Some separation there.
Quite a lot of players in the box there. I don't know what part of the game that is, to be fair. I don't know what way they're going. I mean, that's on a counter attack as an example. That's where he should square it, to be fair. He does make a mistake there. I get there's a lot of people back there. Let's go near the beginning. Oh, a lot of people in the box. Like this idea. Listen, I understand that some nations play with higher lines more regularly, but this idea that other clubs, other nations play football and everybody just stands on the halfway line and allows that's just such an over exaggeration. It's unbelievable.
Do you know what it is with strikers as well? Do you know what it is with strikers? People sit there and go, he needs space to score. No, do you know what it is? When teams play against a low block, don't create the same chances. I'm sure if you put Gyökeres in a situation 12 yards out from goal, whether it's on a counter-attack or against a low block, he scores. The problem isn't, the striker doesn't create enough separation or have the body mechanics to create space to get the angle to put the ball in the back of the net. No. Kick the ball in the spot for the striker to shoot and he'll score.
In that game, Terry?
Where was this guy when Gonzalo Ramos was
they won 3-0?
Oh yeah, so who cares about body mechanics?
I wonder where was this guy speaking about, like when other people were signing players from the Portuguese.
He's still trying to scratch his ear and
I heard Bruno was gonna flop when he joined Man United, and that was
Egal. I was told Darwin Núñez. Darwin Núñez is great at separation.
And just to bring it to life, this was Crystal Palace. This is Crystal Palace, who were considered to play quite a low block and be quite defensive. This was where their defensive line was at the beginning of Arsenal's move for their second goal last night. If we fast forward it a few frames, right, that's where they were as he entered the box. How is that any different to where the team last night were playing? It's again, people just chat shit. They use buzzwords that make them sound smart and clever. But most teams sit where Palace were. That's where a lot of teams that sit low. Yes, there's going to be some teams that will put every fucker behind the ball for 90 minutes and it's hard to break them down. But the idea that Gyökeres only scores goals when the team's on the halfway line and the ball's knocked over the top like it's Sunday League and you stick the fastest player as a striker, it's such shit.
If a team you're playing against plays through the lines, guess what? You're gonna drop back because you're not gonna stand there on the edge of the halfway line going, oh, you know what? Let's wait for them to play through the line.
I really do think people underestimate Arteta as a manager. He's going to find a way to get the best out of a player like Gyökeres.
Yeah. He doesn't need to find a way, Egal. You just need to put the striker in your team and your players will create. People are creating this idea that you need to adapt your entire system to fit a striker who gets 40 goals. Put the striker in the team and your players will play.
For God's sakes, we're about to potentially go to a final or semi. We're currently in the semi-final of Champions League and could go to a final.
Say that. I'd say that, yeah.
With friggin' Moreno. So imagine when we get Gyökeres.
He doesn't get as many goals as what he's getting in Portugal, though. Then when he comes to
he doesn't need to though. He doesn't need to get 43 goals in 50 games.
Shit my pants. You know what's also on the thread? Oh no. Oh God.
What?
I'm not even angry. I'm just disappointed. I was almost like one of the founding fathers of football YouTube content and content out there. Just disappointed. Quite a few of his goals are penalties. Oh, penalties. Penalties. Let's get the wank sock out. Penalties.
Tell that to Bayern Munich when Kane's about to...
Honestly, please, Elon Musk, if you see this clip, I know you're all for free speech, but please, sir, I will buy a brand new Tesla if I have to. Can you ban people for life from Twitter that say, yeah, but what about penalties? They're goals. They're real goals. They're actual goals. Imagine he wasn't good at taking penalties. It's, oh my days.
Also, let's be very honest. At Arsenal, who's this competition for penalties? Stacker, who isn't necessarily, who doesn't take every penalty, Odegaard, who's missed a couple. If Gyökeres joins, he's got a good chance of taking these pens anyway. So the stats count in his favour because, oh my God, he's a good penalty taker as well. People try and make mountains out of molehills. Football's a simple game. He gets
It's
in the right
almost harder to
positions,
score a
make the
penalty
right
than it is
runs,
to score
scores
some
the right
opportunities
goals.
as well. Sometimes
Yeah.
there's a lot more pressure on penalties in certain moments in a game than there is in certain opportunities when you're 1v1 with the keeper.
Some great strikers couldn't take pens. Fernando
Well,
Torres
a great example. Look at the penalty Bruno scored the other night. The goalie went the right way. That was one of the most perfect penalties you can ever see because if he hadn't got it right in the corner with that pace, he misses. If he doesn't score that penalty, we don't come back. When you scoring penalties is so massive and so important, and it's crazy to me that it gets 2025 being good at crossing the ball, being good at corners, being good at counter-attacking, goalies being good at, oh yeah, but you know what I mean, it ain't fair that you won today. Your goalie pulled off 4 or 5 brilliant saves. You hear this analysis now. It is absolutely radio rental. It really, really is. Viewers, give us your thoughts, give us your opinions on that in the comments section below. In terms of the talk about Chelsea and Liverpool, because we're running out of time, we may be doing that now on the Straight Facts tomorrow instead. Because I want to talk Jamie Vardy, and there's a wider conversation. And where does Jamie Vardy rank in terms of Premier League legends and greats? And we're talking purely number 9 strikers here, not inside forwards like Ronaldo's and Mane's, Salah's, etc. They are exempt from this conversation. It's your central number 9 strikers. He's leaving. He's had a brilliant career, 143 Premier League goals, Premier League winner with Leicester, maybe the biggest underdog story. I know Liverpool try and claim they're an underdog story, fucking idiots. The biggest underdog story in the history of Premier League football. FA Cup winner as well. He's won Player of the Year awards, Golden Boots. But where, gentlemen, do you rank Jamie Vardy in the overarching view of Premier League legends?
Easy top 10.
Oh,
Number 9's easy.
That's
What
so
are we doing?
vague. That's so vague.
No, I'm not putting top 5.
In the top 10.
He's probably about 8th or 9th.
What? Jamie fucking Vardy in the top 10 strikers.
Yes.
What are we fucking doing?
Right, so Henry, let's break it down. Who's ahead of him?
Right.
So Henry,
Wayne Rooney, Alan
Shearer.
Shearer, Didier Drogba, Robbie Fowler.
Hang
Aguero.
on. First of all, slow down.
Aguero.
Let's slow down. Listen, if you treat your missus like this, she's divorcing you within a year. Slow down. Take your time. Foreplay.
Right.
It's foreplay. First of all,
Who did I say again?
why have you put Robbie Fowler above Jamie Vardy?
Much better footballer for
Yeah, he is. Robbie Fowler's above.
Okay, but let's just not say it. Break it down. What's he better than? What's he better than?
Goal scorer for one, because he's got more Premier League goals.
Right.
He's a better all-round footballer. I just don't think Jamie Vardy.
You're giving me nothing specific here. Give me something specific.
He's a better goal scorer. There you go. He scored more goals in the Premier League in a much worse Liverpool team than Leicester's Kante, bloody Riyad Mahrez, and every.
Hang on. So you think the Liverpool teams that Robbie Fowler played in
were
worse by?
Hang
on, let me finish talking. Were worse by and large than the Leicester teams that Vardy played in. You're talking the one season with Mahrez and Kante, by the way, the one season.
Yeah, but that's what everyone looks at his season because when they won the league title.
I mean, he won an FA Cup.
That is the season. Andy Cole's a better number 9. Multiple league titles at Man United. White York's better number 9. Didier Drogba, multiple titles and a Champions League.
Robbie Fowler not winning, not being. Listen, Robbie Fowler played in some brilliant Liverpool teams. I am not going to have that those early mid-90s Liverpool teams weren't very good teams. They fucking were. They were very good teams.
For argument's sake,
hang on. Please let me finish my question. They were teams that were tipped in multiple seasons to win the league. They were seen as top-class sides. He didn't deliver in title races for that Liverpool team. Or did he? Or did he not? Educate me on this. We saw Jamie Vardy deliver in a title race that everybody expected the team to fall off from. Why, in your opinion, does that not hold more weight in him being a key figural part in one of the greatest title-winning sides ever?
I mean, look. I mean, he didn't win the league title with Liverpool. So I'll give you Robbie fucking Fowler. But I'm
not saying
No,
I'm right.
Fowler's a better striker than Vardy. We're not doing that.
Please, let's not do this.
Trophy.
Guys, sorry. Let's all stop a minute. I want to have a debate. I'm not even saying, for everyone in the comments crying their eyes out, I'm not saying I don't agree with you. I'm playing devil's advocate. But I want more than just he was a better football player. Let's break down why.
Vardy's main attribute was probably his desire and his speed.
Yeah, pace.
And I think we've seen, since he's lost his speed, he's been nowhere near the striker that he was. And I think we've ultimately seen that since Leicester lost players that helped carry that. Hang on, Tom. Since Leicester lost players that carried them to a title, Vardy and his Leicester have got nowhere near it. They've been in more relegation battles. And they've been in top 4 battles.
And he's been relegated twice.
Yeah. Vardy is not. Vardy don't even get in top 20 for me. And I don't think that's
right.
No, you can
hold on.
10 from a generation when the Premier League started to like 2002. You can find
Who are
another
your
10.
20, Dan? Who are the 20? Top of your head, Dan. Who are the 20 strikers that you put above Jamie Vardy? Let's hear it.
Can I
Go on, we'll have to count here, and I'm going to need some help. But let's go with Shearer, Kane, Aguero, Drogba, Fowler, Andy Cole,
Dwight York, Teddy Sheringham,
York, Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank, Lukaku's better than Vardy,
Wayne Rooney.
Oh God, I'm not having Lukaku above Vardy. Get it.
Sergio Aguero.
Yeah, we said. I don't know if we're repeating
Jermaine
names
Defoe's
here,
a better number 9.
Nicholas Anelka is a better player than Jamie Vardy.
Hang on.
Get a grip.
Jermaine Defoe.
Yes, he's got 100
Defoe's better than Vardy.
100 how many?
He's got 162 Premier League goals, 25 more than Vardy.
In how many games?
496 playing for Portsmouth and Spurs.
Okay. How many
We're
games
on 15,
did
by the way.
How
Robin
many games?
Van Persie.
Guys, we haven't finished yet. How many games did Vardy do it in?
Like 200 something.
380.
Vardy's played over 300 Premier League games.
So how many games is that? What's the difference there?
130 odd.
So 130 games less.
No, it's 158 games difference between them.
So 158 games difference.
Much worse teams.
Hang on, again, Leicester had a couple of seasons where they were this top team, but they were relegation battle the first year he was here. They were not. Let's not pretend that Leicester were always one of the top teams in England. That is a complete overstatement. Spurs probably had more years where they were a better team than Leicester in Defoe's career.
They also had more players to share the goal load, Terry. Leicester have only relied on Jamie Vardy to score their goals. Robbie Keane, does that not spring to mind? Berbatov at moments, Peter Crouch.
But the best
scored goals. Even Darren Bent scored goals at Spurs. They're all in the 100.
Hold on.
Right, so if we're going to be, if we're going to do that,
Vardy was completely relied upon at Leicester to score goals, and every time they were in the league, he was their main catalyst for goals.
Leicester City had the Riyad Mahrez who had bad goals. They had James Maddison who'd bad goals. If I was to pick
Vardy never got a move for a reason.
Jamie Vardy could have went to Arsenal in 2016.
He showed loyalty.
He turned down.
No, he hasn't shown loyalty. He has not shown loyalty to Leicester. He hasn't. He never got his move.
We are going to be.
Guys, can we do one at a time here? The viewers are going to struggle to hear. Go on.
We are going to be brutally honest here, and we are going to look at Jamie Vardy's career. He came into the Premier League at 27. In his first season, he scored near on 10 goals as part of one of the greatest escapes from relegation of all time. Second season, breaks the Premier League record for most goals in consecutive games, en route to winning a Premier League title at 5,000 to 1. Next couple seasons, he's consistently bagging anywhere from 15 to 20 goals, up until 1920, where he wins the Premier League Golden Boot at 31. For the Leicester team that finishes 5th, it should have finished 5th, but it finishes 5th. Next year, it finishes 5th again. He gets another season where he's getting close to 15, 20 goals. Wins an FA Cup. The year that he struggles with injuries, the year they start struggling with injuries, Leicester fall down to 13th. The year Leicester sell all the players and they're not creating the chances for Vardy, relegated. Captains them, is the top scorer en route to coming back to the Premier League as champions this season. In arguably one of the worst Premier League teams I've ever seen, he is still the top scorer. This is a man who has scored over 150 goals for a Leicester team where his top strike partner across the whole time has been Shinji Okazaki.
Okay. Darren Bent has got 106 Premier League goals at Sunderland, Spurs, and Villa and Charlton.
Again, but you've got hang on a minute, hang on. But what you're doing that's disingenuous, right? Is you're forgetting when like Defoe and Bent were at Spurs. Look at the strike partners they had compared to what Vardy had.
Okay, but that's only one of his clubs, Terry. Who did he have at Sunderland when he got bloody 21?
He had Asamoah Gyan, Danny Welbeck.
Oh, Asamoah Gyan. I mean, we've not even mentioned
what are you talking about? You can't do this thing, right? It's even when you mention Portsmouth. So when you mentioned Defoe and Portsmouth, that was the Portsmouth team that won the FA Cup. That was when
he wasn't in that team.
Okay, when did he go Portsmouth then?
He went. So that was the year after he went. And then he went back to Spurs.
The point I'm making is that was in that area and time where the club was winning. Cool. That was when that club was spending so much money before FFP was a thing that it almost went bankrupt. They had a really good team, Portsmouth, at that point. Let us not make up lies. Okay, I remember they had a very good team. You can say Defoe's better, but what I'm not going to allow in the debate is Defoe played in pure shit teams and he scored loads of goals. Defoe's Tottenham teams and even the Portsmouth team he were in had lots of decent players in them and good support. Come on now. He was playing with Peter Crouch, weren't he? Both of them.
Okay. Let me just add this. I think he should be like anywhere between 13 to like 20. That's where he should be. Because I'm looking at the first 10. I think the majority, like 3 Man United players get in for me very easily. Rooney, Cantona, what do you call it? Would you put both York and Cole, or would you just
and Van Persie
and Van
Nistelrooy? They're all in the top 10.
You got like 5 Man United players. I'm putting Aguero in there. I'm putting Shearer in there. I'm putting Pogba in there. Are we putting Anelka?
Sorry,
I've got a list of 20 players. I've got a list of 20 players.
Don't even do that
now.
Are you really about to say that Vardy's better than Van Persie?
That's
actually crazy. That's actually crazy.
My question is...
Wait, hold on. 1 second again. Van Persie scored 31 goals or 32 goals for a shit Arsenal team, got a big move in the summer, and I keep saying, Terry doesn't like when I say that, and I said he carried that United team to a 28th league title, back-to-back seasons. Not to mention his talent or anything, because he's way more talented than Vardy is. But he goes from that team. Imagine being the top goal scorer for that shit Arsenal team that year. The team that we beat 8-2, by the way. That's how bad that team was. And then we take him and he wins the Golden Boot again, and we win the league because of it.
Again,
how are we going to just disregard him?
I am not hearing any debates about, look at how shit his team is. When Jamie Vardy was in a Leicester team that had Robert Huth and Wes Morgan as a centre-back partnership for 3 years.
So let me ask you this, Tom. Let me ask you this.
But Dan,
let me ask you this.
That Arsenal team and pick apart good players they had.
Let me ask you. No, 1 second. They didn't really have good players that season. I'll tell you what. They didn't even have a Mahrez or a Kante that season. Okay, but we usually regard to that Leicester season as one of the weakest Premier League seasons that we ever seen, and it's facts because the whole top 6 was shit. When United won it, the whole top 6 wasn't shit. Now, here's the question that I'm asking you. As good as Vardy was, and I know that he won the Golden Boot, how come he wasn't the what's it called? The PFA winner of the year? How come was it Morris? How come every time they interview someone from that Leicester generation and they ask who was the most important team to that team, they always say Kante. And that's not to dismiss him, but he's regarded as the third man in that big three. So how are we going to act like
he's not regarded as the third man though, because he won the Football Writers Player of the Year that year. He won Premier League Player of the Year that year.
Morris.
He won Premier League Player of the Year that year.
You know something? Dan might be right.
He won the Premier League Player of the Year that year.
I'll read out my list, and then you'll go, "Oh yeah, fair."
No,
that's what.
Just before Dan reads his list out, where did you rank him? Did you say 8th?
I said anywhere from 8th to 10th.
He's in the top 10.
He's in the top
10. I could name 10 players right now that are much better.
Sorry, Vardy's the 15th top scorer in Premier League history.
Guys, let me just jump in because I'm not even saying I disagree or agree with any of these points. I'm playing devil's advocate as host. When you say better football player, I think that's a separate conversation. We're talking about legendary status here. So again, Harry Kane is a better football player than Jamie Vardy, but Jamie Vardy is a superior Premier League legend to Harry Kane.
Okay, we'll take Kane out then.
Hang on a minute, Egal. So I want to make sure I'm framing this right. Yes, your ability plays a part in that, but surely, just devil's advocate, what he did to help a team pull off one of the greatest seasons ever, Does that not lift him above, for
He's not
instance,
better than Kane.
like on this
He's not
league?
better than Kane.
Like on this
crazy.
list.
I'm sorry.
Legend-wise,
No,
he
he's
is.
not. No, he's not.
Yes, he
No,
is.
he's not. And
Yes,
I'll
he
tell
is.
you what. Of
Without a
course,
doubt.
listen. He contributed to one of the best Premier League seasons we ever seen. Like in terms of like a Cinderella story. Of course, we're always going to remember that. I always say the important criteria are when you judge players head to head. You always go the first three things I go to before we look at trophies. I look at longevity, I look at peak, and I look how long your peak was. Harry Kane, at this moment, as we're speaking, he is still in his peak. Yes, he didn't win anything because of Spurs, but we always troll Spurs. I promise you, if you swap them and you would have put Kane in that Leicester team and you put Vardy in that team, we'd be saying the same thing. We'd be making fun of Vardy, saying, "Oh, he didn't get anything in the Premier League because he played for Spurs." However, Kane did it for Leicester. Kane has been a consistent top two striker in the league.
That's not
over
necessarily true, though.
10 years now.
That's not necessarily true because we saw Jamie Vardy in a title race stand up and score. The year that Spurs were in a title race, right? Ironically, with Leicester, if Vardy was scoring the goals in those games and winning the matches, Spurs might have won the league.
And I promise you, at the back of my head right now, without even knowing, if you compare those two seasons, Kane had more goals that season where they didn't win than Vardy.
Again, but let me explain what I'm coming from. You also have to look at the fact that look at the semi-finals and the finals that he played in. There's an argument to say Jamie Vardy may have delivered in those games. I get your point about longevity and peak, and Harry Kane's amazing in that regard. But if that was how the criteria of the debate was, then I'd side with you. But of course, we're talking about how we all judge people. I do look at players that help their team get over the line. I don't even think that Leicester team that won the league was as good as Harry Kane's Tottenham team. I think Harry Kane's Tottenham team was what. Listen, they had three players in Kante, Vardy, and Mahrez who were top class. But they had a centre back pairing of Robert Huth and Wes Morgan.
No one else in that Leicester team went on to do anything.
But again, sorry.
No one else in that Leicester team after the Leicester season. No. I'm saying outside of Mahrez and Kante.
So you agree with me? Tottenham team was better.
Outside that Leicester team, no one else went on to do anything.
What did Vardy go?
What do you mean? Kante went to Chelsea right away.
He didn't exactly go on.
Outside of Mahrez and Kante, no one else in that Leicester team went on to do anything.
Yeah, because they weren't that level. Like Vardy wasn't that level. He was just reliable.
The point I'm making is
put him in number 3 in that
Tottenham team. I think that Tottenham team, squad-wise, was better than that Leicester team. Harry Kane was part of that side that failed to win the league against that team. And I think in terms of legacy, that has to go against you and go for Jamie Vardy.
Yeah,
I don't think
legacy
that's unfair.
doesn't bump him that much higher, Terry, because all these other players have got serious legacies as well.
By the way, I don't have Vardy in my top 10 either. I'm just saying, but I don't have Harry Kane in my top 10. He can't be. He just can't be.
So
Kane's one of the best.
Harry Kane can't be, and I'll tell you as to why, right? Because I'll give you my top 10 right now. Wayne Rooney, okay, Thierry Henry, Sergio Aguero, Andy Cole, Ruud van Nistelrooy, Eric Cantona. I have on my list, I wrote it down earlier, I have Didier Drogba, I have Ian Wright, I have Robin van Persie. Begrudgingly, I have Fernando Torres in there because I just thought he was absolutely special. And there's one I've missed off my list. And Alan Shearer.
Nah, Kane's getting in above Torres. I would never put Luis Suarez.
For me, for what we're talking legends here, for what Luis Suarez did, I think you lose legendary status. He's a racist, so there's no way I'm putting him on that list. Don't care. What he did to Patrice Evra, when we're on ability, I'll never slag him off. Overall legacy.
What about Dennis Bergkamp?
Dennis Bergkamp's on my list as well. That was the one I missed out. Dennis Bergkamp's on there as well. I can't have Harry Kane above any of those players when you factor in ability, longevity, peak, and how decisive those players were in winning major trophies for their team in the Premier League. Harry Kane, he's ability-wise, longevity, goals, he's with all of them. But it's what I split the hairs on here is getting your team over the line. And he had opportunities to in finals, in semi-finals.
He put up enough numbers, though, Terry, that the other players didn't help. He put up numbers that are better than most of those players you've listed, and other players in the team helped get him over the line. He never had those other players, really, bar one season.
I got a question for everybody. Anelka, where does he rank?
Yeah, he's better than Vardy. On pure ability, he's miles better than Vardy.
Chelsea, Anelka, Arsenal.
Vardy wouldn't have got close to Real Madrid. Anelka went there, and
when we're talking about legacy, though, it doesn't come down to pure ability. Why Ben Arthur not in these top 10? attacking midfielders of all time. He had more ability than most of the
We're not
midfielders
talking
actually
about
playing
just
nowadays.
dribbling ability.
but we're not talking about-
Jamie Vardy was a lethal goal scorer who was part. And when you say third wheel, he wasn't third wheel. He was minimum second wheel because goals win games. Jamie Vardy was the top scorer in one of the greatest stories in Premier League history and carried that on for 6 seasons afterwards.
And he never got ahead of Kane, at least for his country.
Will Jamie Vardy be
just a reminder.
Will Jamie Vardy in 10 years from now be remembered more than some of the men?
No, I don't think he will.
Some of these
He'll be
genuinely
remembered
don't
as
think
the
he will.
worst, best striker to ever play in the Premier League.
Okay, perfect example.
Yeah.
If you have him close to your top 10, will he be remembered more than Andy Cole?
No,
In 10 years'
No.
time.
no.
People still come out to New York every year to see Andy Cole, by the way. I'm probably the only one who never goes, but every year, Andy Cole, United send him to New York and people turn out to see him.
I think we're downplaying the story of Vardy and the power that story
That's
carries.
emotion. If we're talking like actual output, ability, trophies, he doesn't.
If you're doing output ability trophies, Vardy is above Van Persie, but no one here said Van Persie's ahead of him because Vardy has the same amount of trophies.
There's no way we're doing this.
But he's got one less goal.
Way. I'm sorry?
But this is the thing. What is my criteria is Jamie Vardy played for a Leicester team that should have been nowhere near where it was. The man has scored since 27 because that was when he walked into the league. In the 8 seasons he's been in the league, he's scored 143 goals. He's won the best Premier League title of all time, or the most, shocking Premier League title of all time. He's won an FA Cup for Leicester. He's been Premier League top scorer. He's won Football Writers Player of the Year. He's won Premier League Player of the Year. What criteria has he not hit to be a top 10 striker of all time?
He does not.
Because everyone else we name in the top 10, we can sit here and name everything that they've won. Just because we don't remember everyone.
None of them done it for Leicester.
Okay, what? Yeah,
Tom,
but they do it for bigger clubs with more pressure than Leicester.
For example,
he never went. Yeah, he actually never went to a bigger club. The guy has no European legacy. He played 1 year in the Champions League. Can't remember everything he's done. He's generally limited to what he did in that one season. Conte, everyone refers to that league as the Conte League. Because guess what happened? They removed Conte from that team. Vardy and Mahrez stayed for 1 more year. What happened? Conte went to Chelsea and won the Premier League. That just showed you that he was the most important one. He didn't get the goals. He wasn't the aesthetic merchant like Mahrez was, but he's the most important piece.
Yeah.
That is not downplaying what he did. But when you're a third string, in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinions, in a title-winning team, I find it hard for me to put you ahead of other players that were the best players of their teams. Yes, maybe they're not Leicester, but they were the best players in their teams when they won leagues. I can't do that.
Yeah, this is the thing for me, right? Listen, I was just actually looking at it because I want to go and refresh myself, right? You go back to that title-winning season for Leicester. You go to the last 5 games. He scored 2 goals in the win over Sunderland. He scored a really important goal in a draw with West Ham. He then missed the next 2 games with suspension, and then came back in the Everton game, and he scored the goals. Subsequently, in some of the remaining fixtures for Tottenham, in the 4 games where Tottenham went from him right behind them to Tottenham drew, lost their last 4 games of the season. Across those games, Harry Kane scored in one of those 4 matches. And this is all I'm doing here is nitpicking. So I want people to be very aware. I'm not saying Harry Kane's a bad football player, but in that season, like if Harry Kane turns up in the game against West Brom and scores a goal, finds a way of getting a goal. He had chances in that game, if I remember correctly. They win that, it could be different. They then they drew that game against, by the way, a poor Chelsea team. He wasn't able, as a leader that year, as a captain, to orchestrate his team, keep their heads. They lost their minds. They started getting angry, kicking off. They dropped big points in that game. And then they lost their final 2 games of the season, 2-1 at home to 7th place Southampton. And then they lost 5-1, final day of the season, to Newcastle United, who were 18th and relegated that campaign. Now, none of that means Harry Kane's a bad footballer. And it's such a horrible argument. But when you're creating that legacy list, even the 20 names that are on this list now, how do you separate them? You have to nitpick, right? Because we all know they're very good football players. And for me, that's the issue with him. And even the following year, He had a much better run, Harry Kane. Scored a lot of goals in the final 10 games of the season when they came second. He did. But it was 2 matches that really decided that there was like 2 games at the end of that season that were where Tottenham essentially fell behind Chelsea. And it was 1 massive game. So he scored in the game against Arsenal, and he scored in the last 3 games of the season that's kept them 4 points behind. But the game they went 4 points behind was a 1-0 defeat to 15th place West Ham. And again, I'm not saying it makes Harry Kane a horrible or a bad or a shit football player. I'm not saying that. And it's a problem with that conversation. But it's just, when I think about these legends, and I'm not saying everyone on this list that Winter Surfers put up, I agree with, I just remember so many of these players scoring in their version of that West Ham game, getting their team over the line in their version of that Chelsea game. And I have to nitpick. And Vardy, the only reason that I don't probably put him a little bit higher is because there's so many of these other players that I think have gone and done and delivered that, especially when you think of Shearer, when you think of Cole, York, Aguero, Hart. I left Haaland off my list, and that's stupid. I was actually thinking about players that are retired. I actually forgot about Haaland. Haaland has to already be in and around that conversation. Henry, Drogba, so many. Rooney, of course. There's just so many that are above him. I really do rank Jamie Vardy. I really, really do. I have him above Harry Kane, but I don't have him in my top 10. I just can't do it. I can't do it. Yeah, I can't do it.
What he done at Leicester, the weight that carries an achievement as the striker for that team, that bumps him up. If we're talking
What
about
about Chris Sutton, then are we going to put him in the same discussion, or
what Chris Sutton winning a Premier League?
Like it was,
Blackburn was not 5,000 to 1.
Huh?
I think
Blackburn was not 5,000
yeah, they weren't 5,000 to 1.
I think this is a generational
Blackburn had just
conversation.
been almost relegated the year before and had to win 8 of the last 9 games to stay up.
Can I ask another
Vardy,
question? Can I ask a very quick
team.
question? Because we're going to run out of time. Sorry, Tom, because I'm going to run out of time. I've got to do super chats. If we split the Premier League, though, as I've mentioned many times, and do first 15 years versus the last 15 years, in this last 15 years, is he in the top 10? Vardy.
What? So since 2010?
So say since 2010, would he be in the top 10?
No.
Top 5.
Yeah,
Who in the last 15 years would you have above him, Dan?
Haaland, Drogba. I'm
Rooney.
trying to think here.
Yeah, but I would say
Rooney.
Drogba's. Would you not say
Drogba
Drogba?
was
I know.
washed at this
Would-
time
would-
10
would-
years ago.
Yeah, would you not say
No,
that the majority
what,
of Drogba's
15 years
peak?
ago,
2016
did you say?
Drogba.
Hang on. But would you not put, like, if we're going to say 15 years, you're back to 2010.
15 years,
I know.
Drogba was scoring having an unbelievable season in
Costa.
2010.
2016. I'm not taking
I would put Drogba
No,
in the
Staffy,
previous.
we're doing 15
hang
years.
on, Dan, no. But you would put the majority of Drogba's peak in the previous 15-year department, would you not?
No, not if
Okay,
it's
you put it in.
50
You
no.
put it in this one. That's fine. So you've got Drogba. Who else?
Diego
Drogba,
Costa.
Aguero, Kane, Rooney, Van Persie,
How many have you got?
Haaland.
Most of these players retired for the majority of the last 15 years. You can't do
What?
What?
No, they
It's
didn't.
the last 15 years. So Diego Costa.
Van
number
Persie
1.
left the Premier League in 2015.
It's not 2026.
2016, I
Aguero,
think. That's what I'm saying.
Haaland.
Like, we can't. If you barely played in the last 15 years or you're retired, there's no way. I can put you in
If
this
I'm doing
position.
last 15 years, I'm putting Vardy's 8 years in the Premier League above Didier Drogba's 3. And one of them was in 2015 when he was barely playing.
Because remember, Drogba got sold in 2012 after the Champions League.
Yeah, he
and
did,
then
he
he came
did.
back like 3 years
And he
later.
come back.
If you do last
Yeah.
15 years, he's
Yeah,
definitely.
I would put Drogba in the previous 15 years just because he only really had 2 years still in this last 15.
Yeah, he would be before that.
Okay.
His
I wouldn't
peak
even,
was
I
alright,
wouldn't even
then-
have I wouldn't even have Rooney for me. I'd put in the previous 15 years. His last 15 years he was more of a midfielder in this last 15 years than a number 9. A little bit, but maybe Rooney's a bit of a hard one. He had a few more years.
In the last 15 years, the top strikers that I can just remember at the back of my head like that was Kane, Vardy, Aguero, Aubameyang. A lot of the names that we mentioned earlier.
And just by the way, for Tottenham
over the last
fans,
15 years,
in the
Tom,
last
you
15
was
in the
in it.
last 15 years, for
might
Tottenham
break
fans,
down.
just for you, in the last 15 years, Harry Kane is in my top 10. In the last 15 years, Harry
Yeah,
Kane
but
is in
I'll-
my top 10.
The legacy argument.
Diego Costa in there?
Costa, yeah. Do you know what's interesting
Very,
with
very
Costa?
low.
Costa's in there
I'll be
above
honest with
Vardy.
you. Costa's a really interesting one when it comes to
Costa's
legacy
not ahead of Vardy.
because I often
He's
forget
ahead of
about
Vardy.
him. I forget
He's
about him, which is interesting. Let's do some of these super chats here, guys. Vardy is in his 10th season in the Premier League. There's only 3 other seasons where he finished 14th or below, 6 times in the top 10. So were Leicester as bad as we are making them out. I'm comparing it, though, to, I'm not saying they're a terrible team. I'm comparing it to people thinking that the Spurs and Bournemouth teams that Defoe were in were rubbish back then. I don't think they were. Berber flop revisionism. He gifted City the FA Cup in 2010. The fall off from Tevez, left out of the Champions League final in 2011 squad, scored 20 goals in like 5 or 6 games. Berbatov was great, mate. I love Berber. It's not Berber flop, it's Berber God. Berber God is what we called him. The Kane's goals led to shit all, Staffy. Lol.
This is one of the worst arguments in football when people say it led to nothing. By that logic, in every sport, you're gonna pick legends and you're gonna say they're shit. By that logic, Carmelo Anthony and Charles Barkley are shit players in the NBA because they didn't win anything when MJ and LeBron existed. Like, what are we doing here, bro? Shit.
Yeah,
argument.
listen. Again, I don't think Kane's a shit player.
Anderson is better than Gerrard. There you go. He won a Champions League. He won 5 Premier Leagues. Yalla, prove me wrong.
That's where I hear you. It's how that.
Tommy, your face is shook. I'm just using that logic. Like that's people forget Robin van Persie looking like Mount from 05 to 2010. Yeah, he was very injury prone in that period. Very, very injury prone. Nostalgia is killing me. The flow was a black Chicharito. This guy came in with 3 back-to-back super chats that are worse than each other. I've never seen that. He didn't redeem himself in 1 super chat. I hope you're black, so for you to say that, because that's a crazy thing to say. But Defoe played nothing like Chicharito.
Yeah, they're not even similar in terms of
I
profile.
love Chicharito, but Defoe was better than him. Come on now.
I was going to say, Defoe was much more intelligent. Chicharito was just a fox in the box.
Yeah.
So,
you're just mad at Henry because he showed you the badge? Or Henry?
I can't lie. The guy's a prick.
I love it. Chike here says, this is for Staffy. What was your first job outside of college and the one professor that you absolutely hated and took years off your life?
There's a lot of personal questions here. There's like 3 different questions. Anyways, my first job, I got a job right before I graduated. I was an export documentation specialist.
You did the stamping?
No, not at all. I mean, there was a part of it being there, but no.
Stamp operator.
You would know because you work at banks, and I actually would send all my documents to the bank, so you would know that. About the stamping thing. And one professor, bro, I used to hate this one professor. I forgot what class he taught us, but he failed everyone on the group project. And me being the vocal, you know how people always say I'm rattled? It's just like I've always been. I'll never forget. He failed everyone on the final paper before we graduate. And it was my senior year, and I was the only one who called him out in the class, and he kicked me out. And I basically told him to go F himself. Nice. He wanted to teach us a lesson about how to be better in life and prepare us, so he just failed all of us. I was like, well, great. Well, now I don't even go into the real life because you just fucking failed me my senior year. So, but I ended up passing.
Itachi here says, what happened with that diver from the Knicks, Staffy? Pistons about to give you.
Why is there so many super chats about me and outside of football? We'll win today. Don't worry about it.
No, I don't think
I keep calling Brunson the diver. They had 34 free throws and we had 19. So if he's a diver, why was there such a great discrepancy in free throws?
Maybe you should just win some more free throws, then.
I think we're going to see Pistons in 5.
Bro, Pistons hype, bro. We're going to win today. And guess what? We're going to win today and be on the terrace tomorrow.
If the Pistons beat the Knicks, Staffy, if the Pistons beat the Knicks, what sport can you go to? United aren't giving you happiness. Knicks aren't giving you happiness.
I actually already want the manager out. I tweeted that last guy. I said Tibbs out. I swear I'm not even joking, bro.
This here
has
from
the friend really got this dead that we're sitting on a football show chatting about the NBA. Like,
sorry, guys, I've got to go in a couple of minutes. This is Tom. If doing for Leicester bumps you, then surely Gerrard shouldn't be in the top 10 and Kante should be way above Gerrard, surely, by that logic.
I've always said I've always said Kante is the top 5 centre mid in Premier League history.
Above Gerrard, though.
Yep.
Yes, always a way better legacy, Kante, if we're doing that.
You know that, Teddy. Teddy, I was one of the first people to say I have Salah above Gerrard.
Don Hussam is going to try and come and kill you. Where do you have Paul Scholes in the top 5?
Yeah.
I love it. Above Gerrard.
I've got Keane. I've got Vieira. I've got Scholes, I've got Kante, and I've got De Bruyne in my top 5.
All above Gerrard.
It's a good list.
I've got
You
Gerrard.
definitely forgot Frank Lampard, by the way.
No, Frank Lampard's 6th. I've got Gerrard about 8th.
So you agree with my list? Well, I actually have Gerrard 7th, and I got a lot of abuse for that. Wow.
Because
Gerrard's
Legacy
in there above Vieira, though.
Legacy
Yeah,
is different to ability. Legacy is different to ability. If I'm doing a legacy debate, I can't put someone who's got no Premier Leagues in the top 5. If I'm doing ability, Gerrard's top 2.
And this is coming from a born and bred scouser from the same streets. We're going to take your word.
I told them
as
Jordanians
gospel.
don't know football, bro. They didn't believe me.
I've always been someone who's dealt with it differently. You've got legacy is one thing and ability is something. If we're doing ability with Vardy, I'm not putting him top 30. He was a very limited striker.
Yeah, this is what I was saying. What was the debate?
Legacy wise, for what he achieved
different.
in his career, he's top 10.
Yeah, I hear that.
So has Van Dijk also surpassed Gerrard for you?
Van Dijk, Salah,
And Trent.
no, fuck that rat.
And Henderson,
No, not Henderson.
Genie.
Genie, no.
Robertson,
Alisson's the only other one.
Allison.
close.
Yeah. And David, I agree with you. Cantona,
Tom's
best
hate,
striker
by
in
the
the
way,
Prem.
to
I agree.
Trent since the whole Real Madrid thing has been hilarious.
Tom, do
Follow
you
him on
remember
Twitter.
Gerrard
It's the
out of
funniest
interest?
shit. I think someone put a combined
Do-
11.
Do I
For, like,
remember
this season?
Gerrard?
And
Hold
someone
on,
put,
I'm
like,
serious.
if you
hold on,
remember
someone
Gerrard,
put
you've never had
Trent in
him that
right
long.
back. And Tom was like, why did you put a right back in this team? He's so salty,
Listen,
man. I
I
love
want to
it.
thank everyone who's tuned in. I'm going to be live at 8 o'clock on the United stand. So get yourselves across there if you want to hear talk on Manchester United. This is going to redirect you to Dom Hassam's channel. Please go and spam him about what Tom just
Say
said. please.
Jordanians don't know ball, please. I'll go to the
Jordanians
chat and say that.
don't
Just
know
spam
ball.
Jordanians don't know ball.
That comes from Staffy, that message, not Terry or the Football Terrace, just so everybody knows. Until next time, take care, goodbye, God bless, and we'll see you all again soon. Peace.